Hello friends, I am Dr. Suchita Vishwakarma, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, School of Management Sciences, Lucknow. Welcome you all to the series of lectures on supply chain and logistics management. Students, we are right now discussing strategic decisions to outsourcing. In my previous lecture, I had discussed the concepts of outsourcing, and in that particular lecture, we had understood that what is the basic meaning of outsourcing, how it evolved, what is the advantage and where are the challenges. Now, over here we need to understand that how outsourcing can be taken as a factor of taking strategic decisions. Now, let us also understand at this point that what strategic decision is. Strategic decision is any kind of decision which is taken by an organization in order to compete with their competitors. That means in order to gain competitive advantage. Every company obviously wants to perform and provide better services to the customer in terms of its competition, and only when they are able to do so, that means whenever they are able to compete with their customer, maybe in terms of features or in terms of cost, then only they are able to have a better market share and better mind share also for the customers. So, a company is required nowadays to understand that how they can leverage on the concept of outsourcing and how they can improve their products or offerings by taking outsourcing as a strategic decision. So, let us understand it in further detail. Just to have a recap of what outsourcing was, the outsourcing is basically a concept in which a company contracts out services and tasks to outside specialists, and this particular concept or outsourcing or getting the work done from external body, that means external body means someone who is outside the organization, that means not from getting the work done from the organization itself, but from getting it done from some other organization or person. This may lead to adding up of more values or features or benefits to the product, or it may also lead to cost advantages also. The strategic use of outside resources helps perform different activities by more professional and expert and in better by better utilization of resources. So, let us understand it further details. Now, what is the outsourcing process? Outsourcing process was explained very well by Fawcett et al. In 2007, and he said that outsourcing before outsourcing, the organization needs to understand the various things that they need to do in outsourcing, and the first is establishment of mission. Establishment of mission basically means that the organization needs to understand that what is the reason and what are the things that they want to outsource, because they need to understand, they need to make a proper cost benefit analysis, that what are the different activities they should try to understand through the Porter's value chain model, that what are their primary activities or what are their core competencies or key skills, and what are those areas in which they do not have their skills or competencies, or what can be considered as a secondary area, and understand that what are the things that they are required to outsource, and accordingly they should prepare a mission or objective through which will help them achieve their strategic goal. Then they should also conduct an outsourcing analysis. So, basically outsourcing analysis basically means that they should then try to understand, after setting up their objective and mission, they should then try to understand and identify the various kinds of people or organizations that exist outside who can help them get the particular activity done in a better manner, better not only in terms of cost, but also in terms of value addition to the customer. And then they are, after identification, they can then get a outsourcing relationship managed and established between the outsourcer. Now, over here we also need to understand the elements of strategic outsourcing. So, before actually implementing the outsourcing or before having a outsource outsourcing partnership with any other organization, a company must understand that the strategic importance of the particular activity or system or process process. That means, what is that which I am getting outsourced, whether that is a particular activity, process, a part of the product, what is that I am getting outsourced, and what is the importance of getting it outsourced, how the value will improve and how it will help me, that means the organization. Then the company should also understand the do a financial evaluation, that means in long term and short term what is the requirement of finances for getting outsourcing, and if not get outsourced, then what is the financial requirement, and then should have a proper arrangement of the same. Then the next very important element of strategic outsourcing is supplier selection and contract development. As we discussed in the process also, that the organization needs to identify the suppliers. They should have a comparative overview among the various suppliers or the providers of providers who can help me out in getting the work done, and then should also be the company should also be very cautious that what is the kind of contract that we are going to have with the service provider, and whether that contract is based on the quality of work or the time of work or the price of work. So, what is the kind of contract, and how long the contract will continue, and what is the various other aspects in terms of confidentiality and secrecy of the particular work. And then transition to external sourcing model, that means the contract execution to transfer of the agreed upon activities and resources. So, once the organization has identified and done the financial and the strategic evaluation, then they actually can implement their outsourcing model, and then keep a regular control and monitor regularly that whether the outsourcing of the event or activity is helping them improve the work, or if not, then probably that needs to be rechecked again. Now, let us also understand the factors influencing strategic outsourcing decision. So, when a company is basically trying to leverage on the outsourcing concept, they should consider various factors, and the first is that company's capability, how much capable we are to perform all the activities by ourselves. If not, what are the areas in which we have weaknesses, that means the company should perform a SWOT analysis in all the areas, and then only they should think of outsourcing the work. The second factor is the availability of previous outsourcing decision. That means company should also consider that whether in the past they have got any of their work outsourced or not. If they do not have outsourced, they have not any outsourcing history, then probably that may lead to certain challenges or certain hurdles in future, because they will not have expertise in managing or handling the outsourcing, and may lead to coming up of some unplanned problems also. Then culture in the organization company, that what is that we are looking for, what is the culture, how much innovative or how much technological adaptation that we have done, what is the kind of modus operandi in our organization. So, these are the various things that the company should always consider before outsourcing the particular work to anyone else. Then cost consideration, the company must think of that what is the cost that is going to be incurred in outsourcing and getting the in-house production. That means comparative view will help the organization understand the need of outsourcing. Next, coming to desire to integrate operations. Desire to integrate operations, plan operations, that means if the organization feels that all the activities that are being done in the organization are somewhat integrated and cannot be separated from each other, that means all the activities are in a linear chain form manner and are interdependent, and if I want things to be done in the same manner, that means in an integrated manner, then obviously outsourcing is not a good a strategy in that case. So, company should first understand that what is their desires in terms of integrating the operations plan or not. Then the next is productive use of excess plant capacity. what is the plant capacity they should understand, and whether outsourcing will lead to un, I mean not proper utilization of capacity. If that is so, then the company again should reconsider whether outsourcing has to be done or not, because I mean unused plant capacity will again lead to overhead, increase of overhead fixed cost, and would also increase the cost of production. So, company should always and always think of that they should be trying to, they should try to maximize or optimize the capacity utilization. So, they should also consider this as an important factor of outsourcing decision. The next factor is need to exert direct control. If the company wants to have a direct control on all the activities, then outsourcing is not something very recommended for them. Design secrecy. If an organization feels that certain design, certain part, certain process of theirs is something which is leading to competitive advantage, that means something, that means there is certain process or certain part of the product which is very unique to them, and if shared with anyone else, maybe the outsourcing partner also, then that may lead to loss of that competitive advantage. In that case also the company needs to think that whether they need to get it outsourced or not. So, this is also one important factor of outsourcing decision. Then reliability of supplier is also important, because if the outsourcing partner is not reliable, if they are sharing information with other people or even if they are not doing the product in the desired time, then that may also lead to problems in the complete process of production or fulfillment of supplies. So, that may also lead to one of the problem. Then volume requirement. What is the amount of product that has to be manufactured, that is required to be manufactured or outsourced from other organization, or what is the volume or frequency of a particular process that needs to be outsourced. So, this is also something very important. If something is very I mean certain processes process that I am thinking of getting outsourced, if that is very rare, it happens I mean only at long intervals, then probably that can be outsourced. If the cost of doing that particular activity is quite high, then that particular activity can be outsourced. Then government policy favoring ancillary industries. Every organization must also try to understand the government's policy also, because if the government is actually focusing on development of meta market and is providing facilities or favoring the development of ancillary or related or closely related industries, then obviously outsourcing is a good idea, otherwise not. And then product architecture, that means what is the kind of product, how the product has been made. So, this is something that we will understand in quite some time. So, these are the various factors that the company should have a due diligence, and then only they should go forward in outsourcing. Now, let us talk about product architecture over here. Products are basically, when they are manufactured, they can be, depending on their manufacturing process, they can be divided or categorized into two types of product: modular product and integral products. Now, let us understand how the assembly or manufacturing process of a product, or rather the product architecture, basically decides that whether it has to be outsourced or not outsourced. So, what are modular products? Modular products are basically made by combining different independent components. Components are interchangeable, and these components have specific standard sizes, shapes or interfaces. The customer's preference determines the product configuration. That means, for example, if I have a, let us say, laptop, and in laptop I know they are a laptop is made up of different components: the monitor, the processor, the motherboard. So, I know that it is made up of different components, and making or manufacturing of all these components are independent to each other. That means an organization can make the monitor independent of whether the same organization is manufacturing the motherboard or not. That means that particular part is completely independent, does not has any relationship with the other component. And when I know that the performance of my laptop will depend independently on the independent components, that means if I am able to have a good big picture, if I am able to view a good picture, that is because of the monitor. If I am having a good memory, so probably it is because of the other things, then probably it is because of the RAM. If I am having a good processing, so it is because of the processor. So, I know the characteristics and specialty of each independent component, and all these independent components together form a product. So, when the customer is basically able to differentiate the characteristics and the offerings of the particular product based on these individual components, then that kind of product is called modular product. While an integral product is one in which I will not be able to segregate the usefulness of the product based on its component, where I will not be able to understand that what is there which is leading to a good performance. So, integral product is basically made up of components whose functionality are tightly related. That means, all the components are made in such a manner that all that function of one is highly dependent on the other. That means, all these products, all these components which are there in the product cannot be made in isolation. There has a direct relationship of working of one on another. The other characteristics of integral products are that they are not made off the shelf component, designed as a system by taking a top down approach. It is made in a holistic manner, in a complete system form. Evaluated such integral products are evaluated on system performance and not the component performance. That means, as I said, that I will not be able to understand that what is that particular feature which is leading to a problem. I will not be able to segregate the different components, and each of the component has multiple functions. That means the function of each component are interrelated, as well as can do lot of give me or have lot of functions for me. So, such kind of products are called integral products. Now, based on whether the product depending on the product architecture, the outsourcing decisions are very much dependent. If the product is modular or integral, then organization needs to also understand simultaneously that how much is the dependency on knowledge and capacity, and how much is the independent for knowledge and dependent for capacity. If so, then outsourcing, if in case the product is modular and dependency on knowledge and capacity is high, then outsourcing is a risky concept. Then the company should not move for outsourcing decisions. And if in case of integral products, again outsourcing is very risky. That means, when the organization is basically very much dependent on knowledge and capacity, then outsourcing is not a good idea. Over here we see that when the organization is not so much dependent on the knowledge and capacity, then probably in both the cases, that means modular and integral products, the outsourcing can be, or rather can be considered as an opportunity and can be taken as a thought. And when the organization is independent of knowledge and capacity, and then obviously in integral products the outsourcing is not a good idea, and the company should look forward to keep the production internal, while in case of modular products, the company may think of outsourcing as well. Now, coming to the outsourcing decision matrix, and this matrix, according to this matrix, the outsourcing basically helps in considering two important factors, whether the outsourcing is leading to strategic importance or not, and the second factor is that what is the task impact on organization and operational performance. Now, let us see the outsourcing decision matrix. Over here we can see that This outsourcing decision matrix has two dimensions, strategic importance and the second is contribution to operational performance. Now, the company must think that whether the outsourcing decision of theirs is leading to certain value additions benefits to the company as well as to the customer. If so, then obviously they can think of outsourcing, and later obviously we are going to discuss, but then over here you can see the strategic importance is low and the strategic importance is high. And then coming to the second dimension, the contribution to operational performance, that if the outsourcing that has been thought of, if the company if the company has planned to get a particular activity or work getting outsourced, and if that particular outsourcing is leading to smoothening or smooth performance or increase of efficiency or productivity of the organization, then whether they should take the outsourcing as a decision or not. And so, over here also you see it is the dimensions of contribution is taken as low and high. So, now over here if you see that if the strategic importance is also low and if the contribution is also low, that means if the company is if the outsourcing process or outsourcing decision is not leading to any increase in value or is not also leading to smoothening of process of the production, then the organization should not consider outsourcing and should rather eliminate that particular process, because that is not helping and will only incur cost to the company. On the contrary, if the particular process, if outsourced, is leading to increase of strategic importance, that means is leading to increase of value to the product and is also helping the company increase their efficiency or productivity, then the company should rather think of retaining the particular function or activity by themselves. That means the company should in that case should not think of outsourcing, then that particular activity should be treated as a core activity rather than an outsourced activity. In that case, the company should focus on getting the work done by themselves. Now, over here you see, if there is any activity which has a low strategic importance, but is leading to increase of operational efficiency, which means the value addition is not much, but still that particular process will lead to improved performance of the organization, then obviously the company should think of outsourcing, otherwise not. And otherwise they can also have another option, which is of strategic alliance, that means having a temporary partnership with any organization. So, over here it is very very important students to understand that if any particular activity is leading to improved of operational performance, then only they should outsource, otherwise they should not think of outsourcing. Now, let us also understand another model to understand that whether a company should choose for outsourcing or not, and this model is called hierarchical model, which would help us decide that whether outsourcing is a good idea or not. So, over here according to this model there are 5 components which should be considered. The first is customer importance. How important the component is to the customer. If the product that I am manufacturing or if the service that I am delivering to the customer and the particular activity which I may think of getting outsourced is of great importance to the customer, then whether I should outsource or not. Then what is the impact of component on customer experience? If the customer experiences are going to be enhanced and if the customer is basically dependent on the choice or the customer's choice are dependent on that particular component, then obviously the company should not think of outsourcing, because these things would lead to competitive advantage. That means these are the areas which actually are providing lot of benefits to the customer, because company will not have a control on outsourcing the activity. And since these are the areas, these are the things which are basically of lot of value to the customer, so outsourcing them will not be a good idea. Then the second component is component of clock speed. Clock speed basically means how fast the technology is advancing. if in case of production of certain product or in delivery of process, technology is making a important role. If because of the advancement of technology, the pace of production or the pace of service delivery has to be changed continuously and in a very radical manner, then the company should not think of outsourcing the work. The company should only think of outsourcing those activities in which the pace of technological advancement is not very fast, because in case of outsourcing, the company has to be dependent on the service provider, and the service provider may or may not be in line with the organization space, and as a result the company, the parent company who is thinking of outsourcing decision may lead to have losses or problems in future. And so, in case of clock speed, if the clock speed is high, then also the company should not think of outsourcing. Then the third point is competitive position. If the company is having a competitive advantage of over competitors due to a particular feature which they want to keep it to themselves only, then also outsourcing is not a good decision. But if the particular feature or the activity which can be outsourced is not leading to something very unique, is not leading to a competitive advantage, then probably the company may think of outsourcing. The next factor is capable suppliers. Obviously, the company needs to understand that whether the suppliers are capable or not, and depending on the capability only the outsourcing can be given to them. And as we had discussed, the product architecture is something again very important. In case of modular and in case of integral products, the choice is again on the company, but obviously in case of integral products there is a lot of risk involved in terms of outsourcing. Over here I have taken few examples. As you can see that on all these 5 factors, that is customer importance, clock speed, competitive position, capable suppliers and architecture, whether or not the company should take outsourcing decision. So, I have taken 4 examples, and in the first example, as you can see, the customer importance is the event or the activities are very important to the customer, and the clock speed is also high. That means the technological advancement is also very high. The company is having a competitive advantage also because of that particular process or feature, and so in that case the company should take a in-house decision. In-house decision, that means the company should think of making it within the boundaries of the organization itself. They should not follow a outsourcing process or outsourcing of decision. In example 2 over here, you can see the customer is not considering that particular feature or process very important, and the clock speed is also slow. That means that the technological advancement is not very fast. The competitive advantage is also does not exist, and so the company may think of outsourcing. In case of example 3, you can see that the customer importance is again important. The clock speed is high. Competitive, however, the feature or the product does not add any competitive advantage, and the capability of supplier is also something important to be decided, and in that case again the company should consider having a in-house manufacturing or performance of the activity, or in case they want, they can obviously have a supplier or partnership with in a form of strategic alliance. While in example 4, as you can say, the customer importance is important, clock speed is slow, that means the technological advancement is slow, there is no advantage, and in this case again the company can think of outsourcing. So, with this detailed information, probably you will now understand that what is the importance of outsourcing decision. and how various factors actually play very important role, and whether an organization thinks of getting a work done outsourced or not is something not solely dependent on the company itself, but is impacted by the presence of suppliers, that means the providers, the values that are given to the customers. And so, you probably after this session you will be able to understand and help your organization in taking strategic outsourcing decisions. For detailed information, you may also go into all these references. Thank you.